So the vacuum pump seal water tank's located in the sewage treatment room. As soon as you step through that watertight door, that quick-acting watertight door, and you take a left, you'll be looking right at the two vacuum pumps sitting on top of the seal water tank. And there's a sight glass to the left. And you'll notice, you probably have to stop the video, but you'll notice that there's an indicator just to the right attached to the tank, and then the sight glass is just to the left. Now the top of the indicator says OSH, out of sight high, and at the bottom it says OSL for out of sight low. The first reading would be an N for normal, and then the next one down it says -1, -2, -3, etc., etc. So if you stop and look at the level on that sight glass, it's slightly below the N, but we haven't touched the -1 yet. So at this point the reading would be N for normal. Let's take a look at that. What's that? That's a good question. Let me explain. Somebody just called in and asked, what is the seal water tank for? Well, that is a good question. Well, it provides a reservoir of sealing water for the vacuum pumps. Now, if you understand how the vacuum pump works, what you've got is an electric motor. It's the prime mover. There's an impeller in the vacuum pump casing, and there's air ports in there, and there's seal water connections. So when the pump is initially energized, it's not pulling any air out of the vacuum collection tank. What it's doing is it is creating a low pressure area inside the pump casing, and some of that seal water through a seal water line gets pulled into the pump casing and flung around the exterior of the impeller, covering some air ports and creating a liquid seal. Therefore, you can start pulling air out of the vacuum collection tank. So we have to have a level above -1 and somewhere around the normal, but not out of sight high. And I'll explain that that's the other purpose. There's two purposes for the seal water tank: provide that sealing water. The second function that it serves is to have a place for that air that's getting pumped out of or pulled out of the VCT. Gives it some place to go. You figure that air that's in the vacuum collection tank is in direct contact with raw sewage, and you don't want that blowing around in your sewage treatment room unless you're a big fan of that. I wouldn't want to smell it. So what it does, the discharge side of the vacuum pump, I should say, the discharge side of the vacuum pump doesn't just blow into the sewage treatment room, it discharges it directly back into the seal water tank, so that smell doesn't come out all over the sewage treatment room or be inside the skin of the ship. Makes sense, huh? And then the seal water tank itself does have an atmospheric vent that goes all the way up to the starboard side of the buoy deck. So it does serve two purposes. That seal water tank provides a reservoir for sealing water, and it receives that smelly air out of the vacuum collection tank.